Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Thomas.
And I'm Grace. Hi, everyone. It's so good to have you here with us today.
So Grace, let me ask you something. Have you ever had a moment in your life where you knew something needed to change, but you just didn't do it?
Oh, Thomas, are you reading my diary? Yes, absolutely. Many times.
Right? And you're not alone. In fact, most people, no matter where they come from, what language they speak, what culture they grew up in, most people are afraid of change.
And today, we are going to talk all about that. Why do we fear change? What happens in our mind when we think about doing something new or different? And most importantly, how can we stop letting fear control our decisions?
This is going to be a really interesting conversation. It's personal, it's real, and I think every single one of you watching right now is going to relate to at least one thing we say today.
So stay with us. Keep watching, keep listening, and let's dive in together.
Okay, Grace, let's start from the very beginning. When we say change, what do we actually mean? Because change can mean a lot of different things, right?
That's a great point. Change can be small or it can be huge. For example, a small change might be something like starting to wake up earlier in the morning.
Right. Or deciding to eat healthier, or taking a different route to work.
Exactly. Those are small changes. But then there are big changes. Things like leaving a job you've had for 10 years, moving to a new country, ending a relationship, starting completely over.
And I think that's important for our listeners to understand. Change exists on a scale. It can be tiny, or it can feel like the whole ground is moving under your feet.
Oh, I love that. The whole ground is moving under your feet. That's exactly what big change feels like, doesn't it?
It does. And whether it's a small change or a big change, many people feel some level of fear. Some people feel just a little bit nervous. Others feel completely paralyzed. They freeze. They can't move forward.
Paralyzed. Let's say that word again slowly. Paralyzed. It means you can't move. You're stuck, like you're frozen in one place.
And that's a word we'll come back to a few times today, because it's really central to what we're talking about.
Right. So let's ask our listeners, has there ever been a change in your life, big or small, that made you feel paralyzed? Think about it. Keep that thought in your mind as we keep talking.
Great idea. Okay, so now that we know what change is, why do we fear it? Where does this fear actually come from?
So this is one of my favorite topics, Thomas, because it's actually connected to science. The fear of change is not just an emotion. It's biological. It's in our brain.
Yes, and I think when people understand why they feel fear, it becomes a little easier to manage it.
Exactly. So here's the basic idea. Our brain has one very important job: to keep us safe. The brain is always looking for danger, always asking, is this situation dangerous? Should I run? Should I fight? Should I stay still?
And the brain loves what it knows. The brain loves routine. It loves things that are familiar, things that are predictable.
Predictable. Let's say that clearly. Predictable. Something that is predictable is something you can expect. You know what is going to happen. You've seen it before.
So your morning routine, for example, is very predictable. You wake up, you drink your coffee, you check your phone, you brush your teeth, in that order every day.
So don't tell me you check your phone before you even get out of bed, Thomas.
I plead the fifth. No comment.
Okay. But the point is, our daily routines feel safe to the brain. There's no danger, no surprises.
But when change comes along, the brain sees it as a potential danger. Something unknown is coming, and the brain says, wait, I don't know this. I haven't seen this before. This could be dangerous.
And so it sends a signal. That signal is fear. That anxious feeling in your chest. That little voice in your head that says, don't do it. Stay where you are. It's safer here.
And that little voice has a name in psychology. It's often called the inner critic, or sometimes the lizard brain, because it's the most ancient, most primitive part of our thinking.
Lizard brain. I love that. So we all have a tiny lizard inside our head telling us to stay safe and don't take risks.
Exactly. A tiny, very cautious lizard. And in prehistoric times, thousands of years ago, that lizard was very useful because back then an unknown situation really could mean danger. A strange sound in the forest could be a predator.
But today the unknown situation is applying for a new job or moving to a new city.
and the lizard inside us is still saying, "No, don't do it. Danger, danger."
Poor lizard. It doesn't understand the modern world.
It really doesn't. But understanding this helps us be a little more compassionate with ourselves. When you feel afraid of change, you're not weak. You're not broken. You're human. Your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do.
That's such an important point, Thomas. Say that again because I want our listeners to really hear this.
When you feel afraid of change, you are not weak. You are not broken. You are human. Your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do.
Beautiful. Okay, let's keep going. Let's talk about some specific reasons why people fear change, beyond the biology.
So, one of the biggest reasons people fear change is something very simple. They fear what they don't know. They fear the unknown.
The unknown. Can we explain what that means simply?
Of course. The unknown is everything that you can't see, can't predict, can't control. It's the future. It's what might happen. It's all the questions that don't have answers yet.
And humans, most humans, don't like questions without answers.
Not at all. We want certainty. We want to know, if I do this, what will happen?
But change, by its very nature, doesn't come with guarantees. When you make a change, you don't know exactly what the result will be.
Right, and that lack of certainty, that not knowing, makes many people very uncomfortable, so they decide to avoid the change entirely.
They stay in the situation they're in, even if that situation is not good for them, because at least they know what to expect.
There's actually a phrase for this in English: better the devil you know than the devil you don't.
Oh, better the devil you know than the devil you don't. Let's say that again slowly. Better the devil you know than the devil you don't.
It means I would rather stay with a bad situation that I understand than take a risk on a new situation that I don't understand, even if the new situation might be better.
Like staying in a job you hate because at least you know the routine. You know your boss. You know where the bathroom is.
Right, and you know where the coffee machine is, which is very important.
Absolutely essential.
But in all seriousness, so many people stay in situations that make them unhappy because the unknown feels more frightening than the discomfort they already feel.
And isn't that interesting? We would rather be uncomfortable and certain than take a risk on something uncertain that might actually make us happy.
That's exactly it. The mind tricks us into thinking that the safe choice is always the better choice.
But of course, and we'll talk more about this later, safety and happiness are not always the same thing.
Exactly right. Let's keep going. What else makes people afraid of change?
Okay, Thomas, here's a big one. I think a lot of our listeners are going to relate to this. The fear of failure.
Oh yes, this is huge. So many people don't make changes in their lives because they're terrified of failing.
Terrified. That means extremely afraid. Terrified.
And the thought is, what if I try this new thing and it doesn't work? What if I fail? Then what?
And connected to the fear of failure is another fear, the fear of judgment. What will other people think?
This one is so common. People think, if I try something new and fail, people will laugh at me. They will think I was stupid for trying.
And social judgment, what other people think of us, is one of the most powerful forces in human psychology.
Think about it. Humans are social animals. We evolved in groups, communities, tribes, families. And in those groups, being rejected, being laughed at, being seen as a failure, that was genuinely dangerous.
If you were rejected from your tribe, you were alone. And alone, you couldn't survive.
So again, the fear of judgment goes all the way back to our survival instincts. But today, being judged for trying something new and failing isn't going to get you kicked out of your tribe.
No, your friends are not going to leave you because you tried to start a business and it didn't work.
But the brain doesn't fully understand that. It still treats social judgment like it's life or death.
And this fear keeps so many people stuck. They have a dream. Maybe they want to write a book or start a business or move to another country or learn a new skill. But they don't do it because they're afraid of what people might say if they fail.
And here's something really important. People are much more afraid of looking foolish than they are of actually failing.
Say that again. That's really interesting.
People are more afraid of looking foolish than they are of actually failing. Because failure, deep down, you can deal with alone. But public embarrassment, being seen as a fool, that feels much worse.
Wow, I think that's very true. And maybe a little bit sad.
It is, because it means that the fear of what other people think is literally stopping people from living their own lives.
Okay, our listeners, let me ask you something. Have you ever not done something because you were afraid of what other people might think? Be honest with yourself. I think most of us have, at some point.
Most of us have, including me.
Me too, Thomas. Definitely me too.
Here's another reason people fear change that I think is really fascinating: the fear of losing identity.
Ooh, this is a deep one. Can you explain?
Sure. So our sense of who we are, our identity, is often connected to our situation, our job, our relationships, our habits, our routines. These things become part of how we define ourselves.
So if you've been a teacher for 20 years, you don't just have the job of teacher, you are a teacher. It's part of who you are.
Exactly. And if you decide to change careers, it's not just a practical change. It feels like you're changing who you are, and that can be terrifying.
Because the question becomes, if I'm not a teacher anymore, who am I?
And the same is true for relationships, by the way. If someone has been in a relationship for a long time and they know deep down that it isn't right for them, leaving is not just logistically difficult, it's also an identity crisis.
Identity crisis. That's when you don't know who you are anymore, when your sense of self becomes unclear or confused.
And that is deeply, deeply frightening for most people.
Now, let's also talk about the comfort zone, because I think a lot of our listeners have heard this phrase before.
The comfort zone, yes, everyone knows this phrase. Your comfort zone is the space, physical or mental, where everything feels familiar, safe, and manageable.
Inside your comfort zone, you know the rules, you know what to expect, you feel okay.
But outside your comfort zone, that's where change happens. That's where growth happens. But it's also where discomfort happens.
And here's the ironic thing. The more time you spend inside your comfort zone, the smaller it gets.
Oh, this is so true. If you avoid new things for long enough, even very small things start to feel frightening. Going to a new restaurant, talking to a new person, trying a new hobby.
The comfort zone shrinks, and then the world outside feels even bigger and scarier.
But the opposite is also true. Every time you step outside your comfort zone, even just a little, it expands. It gets a little bigger. A little more of the world feels manageable.
That's such a hopeful way to think about it. So facing small changes regularly actually prepares us for bigger ones.
Exactly. It's like exercise for your courage.
Exercise for your courage. I love that. Write that down, everyone. Thomas, let's make this a little more personal. Let's share some real-life examples, stories about change, because I think that helps our listeners relate to the topic.
Great idea. I'll go first. So a few years ago, I had a job that was fine. It wasn't terrible. The salary was okay. The people were okay. But I was not happy. I was bored. I didn't feel like I was growing.
And what did you do?
I stayed there for almost 3 years longer than I should have. Because every time I thought about leaving, this voice would come up. But what if the next job is worse? At least you know this one. At least you have stability.
The devil you know.
Exactly. The devil I knew very well. But eventually I made the change, and it wasn't easy. The first few months in the new position were hard. There was a lot to learn. I made mistakes. I felt like I didn't know what I was doing.
And how did it turn out?
Much better. Not perfect, no job is perfect, but much better. And more than the external result, I felt better about myself because I had faced the fear and done it anyway.
That's the key thing, isn't it? Felt better about myself, because you proved to yourself that you could handle change.
Exactly. Every time you face a fear, you build a little more confidence in yourself.
Okay, my turn. So my story is about moving cities. I had lived in the same city my entire life. My family was there, my friends were there. I knew every street, every neighborhood. It felt like home.
And then?
And then an opportunity came. A really good opportunity, professionally and personally. But it meant moving to a completely different city, far from everyone I knew.
How did that feel?
Terrifying. I remember sitting at my kitchen table making lists, pros and cons, but I couldn't choose because the fear was too loud in my head.
And what helped you finally make the decision?
Someone said something to me that I'll never forget. They said, "Grace, imagine yourself 5 years from now if you don't make this change. How do you feel?"
Oh, that's a powerful question.
And when I imagined it, I felt regret, a deep, quiet regret. And that was more frightening to me than the fear of the unknown.
So the fear of regret was stronger than the fear of change.
Yes, and that's an important tool for our listeners. Sometimes it's not about getting rid of fear. It's about finding a bigger motivation than the fear.
That's beautifully said, Grace.
And you know what's funny? Once I actually made the move,
After the first month, I wondered why I waited so long.
That's so relatable. You build it up in your head for months or years, and then once you're on the other side, you think, that wasn't as bad as I thought.
Right. The fear of the change was much bigger than the change itself.
The anticipation is often worse than the reality.
The anticipation is often worse than the reality. Say that slowly. The anticipation is often worse than the reality.
It means the waiting and worrying is often harder than actually going through the experience.
And I think that's something so many people will relate to. We torture ourselves in the before, and then the during turns out to be manageable.
Not always easy, but manageable. And that's enough. Let's talk about the physical side of fear for a moment, because fear of change is not just in our minds, it's in our bodies too.
Absolutely. When we feel fear of any kind, the body has a physical reaction. Your heart beats faster, your breathing becomes quicker and shallower, your muscles tense up.
You might sweat, you might feel sick to your stomach. Some people get headaches, some people feel dizzy.
And this is what scientists call the fight or flight response. Your body is getting ready to either fight the danger or run away from it.
Fight or flight. Fight or flight. Let's say it slowly. Fight or flight. It means your body prepares to either fight the threat or run away from it.
And this response is the same whether the danger is a lion chasing you in the forest or thinking about quitting your job.
The body doesn't know the difference. It treats both situations the same way, maximum alert.
And understanding this can be really helpful, because sometimes people think their physical symptoms, the fast heartbeat, the tight chest, mean that they're making the wrong decision.
I feel anxious about this change, so that must mean I shouldn't do it.
But actually, those physical symptoms just mean your brain is paying attention. It's treating this as important. It doesn't necessarily mean stop.
Sometimes anxiety and excitement feel very similar in the body. Your heart beats fast when you're scared, but also when you're excited.
That's true. The physical sensation can be almost the same. Some psychologists say you can actually reframe the feeling. Instead of telling yourself, I am terrified, you tell yourself, I am excited.
Reframe. Reframe. That's when you look at something from a different angle. You put a new frame around the same picture.
And just by changing how you label the feeling, you can actually change how it affects you.
That's a really practical tip for our listeners. Next time you feel that anxious energy before a change, try saying, I am excited. My body is preparing me for something important.
Instead of, I'm terrified, something is wrong, run away.
Exactly. Big difference in how those two sentences feel.
Let's also mention something called stress inoculation. This is a term from psychology.
Oh yes, can you explain it?
Of course. Inoculation, like a vaccine. A vaccine gives you a tiny, safe amount of a disease, so your body learns how to fight it.
And stress inoculation does the same thing, but with discomfort and change.
Exactly. By regularly putting yourself in small situations of discomfort or novelty, new experiences, small challenges, your nervous system learns to handle stress better.
It becomes more flexible, more resilient.
Resilient. Re-zil-yent. It means able to recover quickly from difficulties, strong enough to bounce back.
And resilience is like a muscle. The more you exercise it, by facing small fears, taking small risks, the stronger it gets.
So the goal isn't to become fearless. The goal is to become resilient.
Because fearless people don't exist, but resilient people, they're everywhere, and they're the ones who actually change their lives.
So Thomas, here's something interesting. Not everyone reacts to change the same way. Some people seem to actually like change. They find it exciting. They seek it out.
Yes, and then other people, even a hint of change just throws them completely off balance.
Throws them off balance. That means it makes them feel unstable, unsteady, like they don't know what's up and what's down.
And scientists and psychologists have actually studied this. Some people have what is called a high tolerance for ambiguity. Ambiguity means uncertainty, situations where things are not clear.
And people with a high tolerance for ambiguity can sit comfortably with, I don't know yet. They don't need every question answered right now. They're okay with waiting for information.
And then there are people with a low tolerance for ambiguity. These people need certainty. They need to know the plan. They need answers, and not having answers makes them very, very uncomfortable.
And neither type is wrong or right. It's just how different people are wired.
But it's useful to know which type you are, because it helps you understand your own reactions to change and be more patient with yourself.
There's also the factor of past experience.
If you've been through a big change before, say you moved countries as a child, and it was a positive experience, you are probably less afraid of change as an adult.
Because you have evidence. Your brain has a reference point. The last time things changed, it was okay. Maybe this time it will be okay too.
But if you've been through a big change that was traumatic or painful, a sudden loss, a bad divorce, a business that failed and caused real damage, your brain might have learned a different lesson. Change equals danger. Change hurts. Avoid it.
And that's why two people can look at the same situation, the same new opportunity, and react completely differently. One sees possibility, the other sees threat.
Both reactions make perfect sense, given each person's history.
And again, understanding this helps us be gentler with ourselves and with other people too.
Exactly. If someone in your life is really resistant to change, it might not be that they're stubborn or difficult. It might be that their history has taught them to be afraid.
Compassion, everyone. Always compassion.
And I want to add one more type of person here. The person who seems to love change on the outside, but is actually running away from something.
Oh, that's a really good point. Some people change constantly. New jobs, new cities, new relationships, not because they're brave, but because they're avoiding something.
Avoiding stillness, avoiding a deeper issue, avoiding having to really sit with themselves and figure out what they truly want.
So there's healthy change, change that moves you towards something meaningful. And there's escape change, change that just helps you run away from discomfort.
And knowing the difference is important. Ask yourself, am I running towards something or running away from something?
Running toward or running away? That's a really useful question to sit with.
Okay, Grace, let's talk about something that I think people don't think about enough: the cost of not changing.
Oh, yes. Because I think when we're afraid of change, we focus entirely on what we might lose, but we don't think about what we're already losing by staying the same.
Exactly. Staying the same also has a cost. It's just a quieter cost, a slower cost.
Can you give some examples?
Sure. Let's say someone is in a job that makes them miserable. Every morning they wake up and they dread going to work, but they stay because they're afraid of the unknown.
The cost of not changing might be their mental health, their energy, their sense of purpose.
Maybe they go home every evening exhausted and unhappy. Maybe they become irritable with their family. Maybe they stop doing the things they love outside of work because they have no energy left.
All of that is a cost, a very real cost.
But because it happens slowly, over months, over years, it's easy to not notice it or to normalize it. This is just life. This is how it is for everyone.
And that normalization, that accepting of pain as the default, is one of the saddest effects of the fear of change.
Another example, someone who knows they need to have a difficult conversation. Maybe they need to tell a friend that the friendship has become toxic. Maybe they need to tell a partner that something isn't working.
The fear of that conversation, the fear of conflict, the fear of change in the relationship keeps them silent.
But the cost of that silence, the relationship quietly gets worse. The resentment builds. The person feels less and less like themselves.
So the question is not just, what will I lose if I change, but also, what am I already losing by not changing?
And that is a really important shift in perspective. Let's say that one more time. What are you already losing by not changing?
I want our listeners to really sit with that question. What are you already losing by not making the change you know you need to make?
Because sometimes, when you really think about it honestly, you realize that staying where you are is not actually the safe choice. It's just the familiar one.
And familiar and safe are not the same thing.
Not at all. Safety is about your well-being. Familiarity is just about what you know.
And sometimes what we know is actually hurting us.
Slowly, quietly, without us even noticing.
There's a concept I want to share with our listeners here. You might have heard of the boiling frog story.
Oh yes, tell us.
So the idea is this, and this is a metaphor, not actual science, just to be clear. If you put a frog in boiling water, it will immediately jump out because the change is sudden and obvious.
Right, the danger is clear.
But if you put a frog in cold water and very slowly heat it up, the frog doesn't notice the gradual change, and it stays in the water too long.
And the lesson is, gradual, slow change, whether in a situation or in how we feel, can be very hard to notice because each individual day feels almost the same as the day before.
But after a year, after 5 years, you look back and realize, how did things get this bad? When did this happen?
And that's why it's so important to stop regularly and ask yourself, Is this situation truly good for me? Or have I just gotten used to it?
Because getting used to something is not the same as being okay with it.
Great distinction, Grace.
Okay, Thomas, we've talked a lot about the why we fear change, where the fear comes from. Now let's talk about the how. How do we actually start to face change? How do we embrace it instead of running from it?
Great. Let's give our listeners some real practical tips they can actually use.
Tip number 1, start small.
Yes, you don't have to make a massive change right away. In fact, if you've been in a very fixed routine for a long time, big changes can feel overwhelming. So start with tiny ones.
Take a different route to work. Try a new food. Talk to someone you don't normally talk to. Read a book about something you know nothing about.
These small changes do something very important in your brain. They prove that different doesn't always mean dangerous. They show your inner lizard, look, something new happened and we're fine.
We're fine, little lizard. We survived.
And over time, this builds your confidence. Your comfort zone expands. You start to feel capable of bigger changes.
Tip number 2, separate the fear from the decision.
This is so important. When you're afraid of a change, it's very easy to confuse the fear with a message. I feel afraid, therefore this is the wrong decision.
But fear is not information about whether something is right or wrong. It's just information that something is unfamiliar.
So practice asking yourself, if I was not afraid right now, would this be a good decision? Take the fear out of the equation for a moment and look at the situation as clearly as you can.
Sometimes you'll realize, yes, even without the fear, this is genuinely not the right move. But often you'll realize the only reason I'm saying no to this is the fear, not because it's a bad idea.
And that realization is powerful, because then you can say, I see you, fear. Thank you for trying to protect me, but I'm going to do this anyway.
Thank you, fear. That sounds a little strange, but actually it works.
It does, because when you stop fighting the fear and just acknowledge it, yes, I feel this, it's here, that's okay. It often loses some of its grip on you.
Tip number 3, give yourself a deadline.
Oh, this is a good one, because sometimes people say, I'm not ready yet, I'll do it when I feel ready.
And here's the hard truth. For most people, when it comes to scary changes, you will never feel completely ready.
The feeling of ready comes after you start, not before.
So give yourself a date. By the end of this month, I will apply for that job. By the end of this year, I will have the conversation I've been avoiding.
And write it down. Tell someone. Make yourself accountable.
Because sometimes all we need is a little pressure, a deadline, to push us past the paralysis.
Tip number 4, focus on what you can control.
One of the reasons change is so frightening is that it involves uncertainty, things we can't control, and our brain hates that.
But in every change, there are things you can control and things you can't. And it helps enormously to focus your energy on the things within your control.
For example, if you're changing jobs, you can't control whether you'll love the new job from day one, but you can control how much you prepare. You can control how you present yourself. You can control your attitude going in.
Focus on what you can do, rather than worrying about everything that's uncertain.
And here's a helpful phrase to remember. I cannot control what happens, but I can control how I respond.
Say that again slowly. I cannot control what happens, but I can control how I respond.
That is such an empowering sentence because it reminds you that you are never completely powerless. You always have some choice in how you react.
Tip number 5, build a support system.
Change is much easier when you don't face it alone, and many people try to face it alone because they feel embarrassed or ashamed to admit they're afraid.
But talking to a trusted friend, a family member, a mentor, or even a therapist can make an enormous difference.
Just saying out loud, I'm scared of this change, but I'm going to do it anyway. That act of voicing the fear takes some of its power away.
It's like bringing the monster from under the bed into the light.
Yes, monsters are much scarier in the dark.
And tip number 6, and this might be the most important one of all, be kind to yourself.
Yes, change is hard. It's okay to struggle. It's okay to feel afraid. It's okay to make mistakes along the way.
What matters is that you keep moving. Not perfectly, not without fear, but forward.
And every single step forward, no matter how small, is something to be proud of.
Progress, not perfection.
Progress, not perfection. Let's say that together.
Progress, not perfection.
I love that.
And one last thing I want to say about embracing change, and this is something I really believe. The version of you that exists on the other side of the change you're afraid to make, that person is worth meeting.
Oh, that gave me chills.
Think about it. Every version of you that exists today, the confident version, the wiser version, the happier version, exists because of changes that were once scary.
You are already the result of changes you once feared.
And the future version of you, the one who made the change you're currently afraid of, is waiting. And they're going to be wonderful.
I love that, Thomas. I really do.
Okay, everyone, we're getting close to the end of today's episode. But before we go, let's do a quick summary of everything we talked about today.
So today we learned that the fear of change is completely natural. It's biological, it's in our brain, and it goes all the way back to our ancient survival instincts.
We talked about the fight or flight response, the inner lizard brain, and the comfort zone, and how the comfort zone shrinks when we stop challenging it.
We talked about why people fear the unknown, fear failure, fear judgment, and even fear losing their identity when they change.
We shared some personal stories about changing jobs, moving cities, and how the anticipation of change is often much worse than the change itself.
We talked about how different people react differently to change, based on their personalities and their past experiences, and why we should have compassion for ourselves and for others.
We talked about the boiling frog and the cost of not changing, the quiet, slow cost of staying in situations that no longer serve us.
And we talked about the difference between running towards something and running away from something.
And finally, we gave you 6 practical tips. Start small, separate fear from the decision, give yourself a deadline, focus on what you can control, build a support system, and, most importantly, be kind to yourself.
And before we finish, if this episode helped you today, if you learned something new, or if something we said made you stop and think, please hit that like button right now. It only takes 1 second, and it really means the world to us.
And if you're new here, welcome. We are so happy you found us. Please subscribe so you never miss a new episode. We upload regularly, and every episode is made with care, especially for intermediate English learners like you.
This channel is your place to improve your English in a natural, friendly, relaxed way. No boring grammar drills, just real conversations, real vocabulary, and real topics that make you think.
And we love hearing from you. So here is our question for the comments today.
Is there a change in your life right now that you're afraid to make? Or maybe a change you've already made that turned out better than you expected?
Tell us in the comments below. Write in English, even just 1 or 2 sentences. It's great listening and writing practice, and we read every single comment.
And hey, your story might inspire someone else who is watching right now and feeling stuck. So don't be shy. Share it.
You know, Grace, I think what I love most about this topic is that it's so universal. Every single person listening, no matter where you're from, what language you grew up speaking, what culture you were raised in, every one of you knows what it feels like to be afraid of change.
It connects us. Fear of change is part of the human experience. It always has been.
And so is the courage to change anyway.
That's the real lesson today. Not never be afraid, that's impossible, but be afraid and do it anyway.
Feel the fear and change anyway.
Feel the fear and change anyway.
Because the best things in life, the real growth, the real joy, the real version of yourself, those things are almost always on the other side of fear.
And you are braver than you think.
You are more capable than you know.
And you are not alone.
Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for spending this time with us today. It truly means a lot.
Take care of yourselves. Keep practicing your English. And remember,
Progress, not perfection. See you next time.
bye everyone.